What's up, everyone? It's Lights Out here, and today I'm bringing you one of the most talked about matchups in a while between the Dream Team 1992 USA Dream Team and the 2012 USA Olympic Team. And this is a matchup that pretty much it was brought up when Kobe was asked if they could beat the Dream Team, and of course, he's going to say yes. I mean, what are you supposed to say? You can't, just say, oh, that they would. Of course, they would beat us by 30. We have no chance. So it's been a pretty big debate, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. And I'm controlling the 2012 team here. It's a team I'm more familiar with, as it's really I didn't get to see a lot of the Dream Team players play in their primes, so I'm more familiar with the 2012 players. But I'm just looking at the teams, running down the rosters. Of course, you've got Michael Jordan in his prime, and Scottie Pippen on the wing. Of course, he's not starting in this version of the team, but in real life, in actuality, in the time period that this team really played the Dream Team, Larry Bird was already on his way out. His back ravaged. He's still a great player at this point, and I'm pretty sure he can give us one hard game, but it's still not the same Larry Bird, and I think they would go with Scottie in this situation, especially with the athleticism of the 2012 team and the people he would have to guard. Of course, with the Dream Team, we've also got the big men, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, David Robinson. I mean, you've got Hall of Famers across the board. Christian Laettner's a big man on the team, and he's not. I think he was more of just a toss and just. To be real, probably just a token white guy to have out there, right? But and he was the College Player of the Year out of Duke. And of course they had Chris Mullin, the shooter, NBA All-Star. I mean, they barely had to use him, and he's still a great player. I believe he's a Hall of Famer as well. Then you got Magic Johnson. He had AIDS at this point, and I believe he had just taken the year off in the NBA. And he's still a great player. And he still came in great form, rested. And you got a bunch of Hall of Famers, a bunch of great players on their team. Now you look over at Team USA. First thing you see, Kobe Bryant. Now this isn't prime Kobe Bryant. That's going to be your big difference between Kobe and Jordan in this one. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. He's not in his prime at this point, not as athletic. Still a great scorer, of course. Really could have had the scoring title if he wanted. Of course, that went to Kevin Durant, who's also on the team. But you do have a prime LeBron James, prime Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant. I mean, you have so many athletes on this team. Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, so much speed, so much athleticism. Really thrived in this Olympics, committing turnovers, getting off on the break off of a rebound. See Kobe there with the isolation jump shot. Just really caused problems. You saw what they did in Nigeria. Just ran up and down the court on them. Sank three-pointers. Really, the only weak spot is their lack of interior play. Kevin Love, he's a very good player. Really found his rhythm later in the Olympics. Shoot from the outside, rebound. Tyson Chandler, defensive player, great defensive center. Can't really score, but they've got plenty of scoring, so they don't got to worry about that. And then, of course, you got the young man Anthony Davis, the number one pick in the draft. Really, as far as how he would match up in this game, I really don't believe there'd be much he could do against a Patrick Ewing, against a Charles Barkley. Not at this point in his career, so his effectiveness would really be limited in this situation. Now, just looking at the play styles, you see the Dream Team not really looking to go run up and down the court. Magic Johnson always orchestrating a beautiful offense. Even half court, full court, it doesn't matter. They want to work the inside game, force USA to take jump shots over people. The Kobe's, the contested jump shot right there. And really, they're going to get what they want, which is they're going to try to work their interior players, try to get to the basket right there, post up Patrick Ewing, post up Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, get shots for Jordan, and really just frustrate the USA. Don't let them get the shots that they want. On the other hand, USA really thrived when they were able to cause turnovers. Of course, they're turning the ball over right there. Really able to thrive when their three-point shot is falling down. And really, they're just so much more athletic than the teams they play. And that goes for both these teams, but even more so for the 2012 team. And really, that's an advantage they don't have as much in this matchup. They're still more athletic, but they're not going to be able to just overwhelm the Dream Team. So as we move on, we see Magic Johnson, Chris Paul, but the big matchup, I alluded to it earlier, Jordan and Kobe. Who's the best scorer of all time? You're going to hear that debate all the time. Lakers fans, I mean, you've heard 5 rings, you mad. But Kobe's their idol. Kobe, arguably top 10 player of all time, probably most definitely. People want to say he's the best player of all time. He played in a tougher era than Jordan. That's always up for argument as well. I personally think Jordan's the greatest player of all time, but that's a different argument for a different time. But you have to remember, like I said earlier, Kobe's a little bit older in this game. Jordan's in his prime. I think Jordan would get the better in this matchup, but this Dream Team didn't rely on Jordan. They didn't need Jordan to score as much as the Bulls needed him to score. So I don't think it would come down to that, personally. I mean, people are going to look at it like that, but they were so balanced inside, outside. You can't forget Clyde Drexler, another great player in his own right, another great shooting guard. That Jordan wouldn't need to drop 30 or 25 even, 20 even. He can get his 15 and still go home a winner. And a lot of that has to do, like I said, with the bounce, with the ability to get inside, rebound, where Dream Team, and you've got guys like Karl Malone and Patrick Ewing to get every rebound, David Robinson. You put in guys like that against Tyson Chandler. I know Kevin Love's got a battle on the boards, but when you've got Kevin Love is a great rebounder. I'm not going to lie about that, but I don't see the 2012 team being able to keep up on the boards with the Dream Team, just keeping up with the Hall of Fame big men that the Dream Team have. We're looking at John Stockton here as well, an underrated player guarding Chris Paul. A lot of people would say, oh, he just burned right by him. John Stockton was a great defender. You look at a lot of the steals records and just watch John Stockton play. He wasn't the quickest player. He wasn't the fastest player. He didn't have, the greatest athleticism, but he had great reflexes, knew where to be on defense, good hands. He got a lot of steals. He was in the right place, always in good position to make the right plays. He's still right there. But and he got his pick and roll with Karl Malone is one of the most legendary plays of all time. You think of a pick and roll, or if you want to teach somebody to run a pick and roll, all you gotta do is show him and Karl Malone, and that's the prototypical pick and roll, the way it was meant to be run, the way it was meant to be. So it'd be interesting to see how he could do. A lot of people say Isaiah Thomas should have actually been the backup point guard in this team, and he really should have. In reality, he should have been on this team. And it was Michael Jordan that really kept him off. And, Michael just didn't want him on the team, and what Michael said, that was it. And so we see Russell Westbrook on the court here. And Russell's role on this team is actually very different than what we see in Oklahoma City. It's actually a role that we would like to see him do in the NBA, and that's play off the ball. You don't see it very much in this game, except for when I bring the ball with LeBron, but in the Olympics, he was able to run up and down the court, get into his score without sacrificing the offense of the rest of his teammates because he was playing off the ball. He didn't have to worry about distributing. He can just go get his. And he's very athletic, able to find shots for himself, play defense. He's an excellent defender. As you can see, get his own shot right there, quick move. Mid-range is excellent. Not that great of an outside shooter, but his shot selection is a little iffy, so he'll still take that outside shot if he's left open. And there's exactly what I'm talking about. Dream Team's going to try to force it into the paint, try to challenge Tyson. Tyson got into a lot of foul trouble against players like Gasol, players like Kleza. He was in foul trouble for most of the Olympics. You turn the game on, Tyson Chandler was already in foul trouble. Tip off, already 2 fouls. But still, so that's what they would look to do. Now, there was a little bit of a mistake by me in this game as well. I didn't play Deron Williams or Andre Iguodala for the USA team, and that is a big deal. Deron Williams was the backup point guard. Very good player. Had his jersey retired playing half a season in Turkey for Besiktas. And to have your jersey retired that quickly. He's got an outside shot, tough physical guard, plays through contact, a prototypical European League guard. So that would have been a factor. As well as Andre Iguodala, an excellent defender, could have helped slow down guys like Drexler, Jordan, Pippen. And that's another ball handler as well. And an unselfish player. He was a guy that didn't care if he scored 20 points or if he scored 2 points. And I think that's a big difference in what we've seen from Team USA as well. When we were in our down period with Larry Brown as the coach, we brought guys. It was pretty much rent a team. We sent Iverson and Duncan. Well, we just sent whoever felt like playing at the time, and they would just go down and look for themselves because it was just pretty much a pickup game atmosphere that we brought with us. And eventually teams caught us. You saw Argentina beat us with Manu Ginobili, Oberto, Luis Scola. A lot of great players they had. Carlos Delfino. We dropped a game to Lithuania. Jasikevičius. He used to play in the league with the Warriors, as well as a few other teams. And then, dropping a game to Puerto Rico. We just dropped a lot of games, and it really wasn't necessary. It was a part of the system that Coach K really got us away from. He made the game relevant to the top USA players, made it cool to play again, made guys like Melo come into the team concept. A lot of people say Melo doesn't play team ball, but if you see him with Team USA, he's playing team ball. You get the right coach, you can get these guys to play together, bring them towards a common goal. And to think that you can get a team of all-stars to play a team game like this, it's amazing. And not a lot of coaches can do it. Larry Brown was definitely not the right guy for the job. And so Coach K has done a great job. I know this was his last year. So whoever it may be, whether it's Doc Rivers, Greg Popovich, or someone not yet named, I'm sure they'll have a great task ahead of them. But they already have the foundation set up, so hopefully they don't ruin anything. While we're talking about coaching, let's look on the other side of the bench, and that's Chuck Daly. Chuck Daly was a coach of the Bad Boy Pistons, and he really brought this team together. And even though it was the greatest collection of players ever assembled at that time, he was able to make them have a sense of urgency. He brought in a group of college kids. He pretty much rigged the game, made the Dream Team realize that they can be beat. And, of course, they came in, destroyed everyone. The rest is history. But I think what he would bring to this game is he would get the Dream Team to play physical, make the Team USA uncomfortable. And you saw when Team USA played Argentina and they brought physicality, played a little dirty, they were able to get back into the game, stay in the game. Same thing with Spain. Play a little dirty. Chuck Daly would have them playing a little bit like the Bad Boys, I believe. Make them work, knock them around, get them frustrated. Because, to be straight up, today's game is a lot softer than what we saw in the 90s and 80s. A lot softer, a lot more touch fouls, a lot more complaining. The players are not, I don't want to say they're not as tough, but the game's not the same. And it's pretty obvious, you ask anyone. The game is not the same. Can't hand check. And a lot of this is going to depend on how the referees call the game. And, of course, in this scenario, we don't know if it's today's refs, back then's refs, or a mix of the two. So, if they're calling touch fouls, of course, Dream Team will have to adjust, and they will because they are great players and a great coach. So that would be an interesting concept to the game. Another thing as far as game planning goes is Team USA seemed to live and die with the three-point shot, something that some fans were very unhappy about with the amount of threes that we took. And a lot of it comes with the fact that teams were running zones against us, and you get a guy like Durant or Carmelo, and they don't see open threes. Never. You've watched them in an NBA game, an open three to them once in a season. Once in 2 seasons. Or maybe in the All-Star game. But in this, they're getting open threes the whole game. And that's pretty much a layup for them, except for the fact that sometimes Lithuania game, the Spain game, they weren't going in. And that was allowing the other teams to stay in the game. And I think Team US, the Dream Team, would be able to use the perimeter defense because these guys aren't bums. This isn't Spain. This isn't Nigeria. They're going to be out there on them, so they're not going to be able to just chuck up threes, and I don't think they would. I don't think they would do what I'm doing in this game right now and just putting up a bunch of threes and not making. And a part of that's my fault. I kind of let this game go a little bit. It took a lot of bad shots, but as you can see, I'm trying to run the offense. And these are crafty defenders. They're not the most athletic. They're not the best run and jump athletes, especially at this stage in some of these players' careers. But they're crafty. They got experience. And they know what they're doing out there. Clamp down the paint, make them shoot jumpers over. And the effectiveness of Kevin Love, Tyson Chandler, and Anthony Davis would be a humongous factor. And I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, but I just want to bring it up again. If Tyson Chandler isn't able to at least slow down Patrick Ewing and David Robinson, Team USA, I think, would stand little chance, barring a huge game from LeBron or Kobe, which is always a possibility. Anthony Davis too skinny at this point to guard any of the centers for Dream Team, so I think we could pretty much count him out. Other than like Christian Laettner or something, he could probably guard him at this point. And Kevin Love, really defense-wise, we couldn't depend on him. He's not a great defender, but he could bring that outside shooting. Bring a guy like Barkley out of the paint. Bring a guy like Ewing out of the paint. Robinson, just so we have more room to drive. And avoid the shot blocking of the Dream Team. And on the other end, of course, we don't really have LeBron James, Kevin Durant can block shots, but they're not a shot blocking threat. So in the half court situation, you're not looking like LeBron's going to block my shot if I post up. And, talking about LeBron James, let's talk about the year that LeBron has had. 2 years ago, or at least the difference a year can make. 2 years ago, this man struggled against the Mavericks in the finals, was nowhere to be found. And a year later, NBA MVP, finals MVP, NBA champion, Olympic gold medalist. Let's think about that. People were talking about, would he ever get a ring? Would he ever live up to Jordan and them? Was he just a guy that was immensely talented but can never put it together? The decision, one of the most hated players in the NBA. And he was able to put it together. It's all behind him now, pretty much. He's a great player. His team's getting better and better. Veterans keep joining the Heat. And everything's looking bright for him now. So, like I said, just the difference 1 year can make. And in a matchup like this, if Larry Bird were to guard him, he would get torched. Just to be straight up, this version of Larry Bird. I'm not saying 1984 Larry Bird or 85 Larry Bird would get torched. I'm saying 1992, broken back, old and busted, Larry Bird would get torched. He wouldn't guard him, though. That's a fact. He would not be on LeBron. They would have Scotty out there or someone else on him. But in this instance, Bird is out there. And this is a video game, so he does pretty well. Speaking of Bird, Bird and Chris Mullin were pretty much the only outside shooters, consistent outside shooters for the Dream Team at this point. In contrast to Team USA, where they would, happy-go-lucky three-point shooters, Team USA or Dream Team didn't have to depend on the three-point shot as much, or didn't feel as though they needed to depend on the three-point shot as much. So they were always in a situation to score because they were always going inside, which of course is a higher percentage shot than a three-point shot all the time. No matter how open you are, a layup is always going to be a higher percentage shot than a three-pointer. I mean, that's simple. So, other than Chris Mullin, who didn't play too much, Larry Bird's really the only guy that's going to stand out there and gun it. And even then, he wasn't really a gunner either from outside, but he was also the first three-point champion. So, there's that to you. You look at a guy like LeBron James. I know I was just talking about him. But people also talk about his ability to guard the 1 through 5. And would he be able to do it in this game? Because this 1 through 5 is a little bit different than guarding 1 through 5 of Argentina or the 1 through 5 of France. You're guarding a Hall of Famer at every position. So would he be able to do it? This would be the true test of LeBron's defense. Because he is a great defender. And it'd be interesting to see that as well. See Scottie Pippen inbounding the ball. How good is Scottie Pippen? That's also an argument that people have. And Scottie wasn't able to win anything without Jordan. But you can say the same thing for Jordan. Jordan couldn't win anything without Scottie. Or he didn't. He probably could have, but he didn't. Some people see Scottie as a top 5 small forward of all time. One of the best perimeter defenders of all time. Some people say he's completely overrated. Where I stand, probably somewhere in the middle. I think he's probably the best perimeter defender of all time, but probably more of a top 10 small forward, top 50 player of all time. So I'm very high on Scottie Pippen, but you gotta be realistic as well. This third quarter, I start letting the game slip a little bit. I mean, I keep in range. Fourth quarter gets kind of bad, but in the third quarter, I start turning the ball over. Start getting out of my game plan. Don't get Kobe the ball as much. Don't get Durant the ball as much. And still not playing Deron Williams or Iguodala. And I also think part of it is just the fact that the Dream Team just kept pounding the ball inside, and they were just able to score and wear down our interior players, and guys like Chandler, Kevin Love. I mean, LeBron James at power forward. You can see the rebounding discrepancy right there, already starting to build up, as well as points in the paint when they show, and just silly turnovers like that. Wide open dunk. That's just something that either team could not afford to do something like that in a game like this. In the pick and roll. Think about that pick and roll. Wow. But you can see Patrick Ewing just having very good game. Blocks, rebounds, points. Just bringing it on all sides of the court. And that's exactly what Team USA would have to do. Come on the fast break. Do that right there. And that's where they would have to score. They would have to make Dream Team turn the ball over, use their athleticism, get Stockton to make a poor pass or overwhelm him. Same thing with Magic Johnson. Just pretty much wear those two down, tire them out, make them work the entire game, all 40 minutes. If you want to call it 40 minutes of hell, Nolan Richardson's game plan when he coached at Arkansas. But either way, they would have to pressure him and try and force him into mistakes because you can't depend on your interior defense against this team. As you can see, there's no zone. There's absolutely no zone being played in this game because there doesn't need to be any zone. Neither of these two teams are at the matchup disadvantage. A team playing the USA in the Olympics from another country is at. So it's going to be straight man-to-man. You don't see as many pick and rolls as you would see from a team like Greece. When Greece beat us, oh my God, that pick and roll. And it was either a pick and roll with Papaloukas or throw the ball down to Sophocles Schwarzenegger, and he would bully his way into the paint and score. And that's when we got guys like Dwight Howard to say, shut that down. And that was another storyline for this Olympics, was the fact that Greece didn't even qualify. Upset by Nigeria in the qualification tournament, and didn't even make an appearance in the Olympics. When there were some people out there saying, they might have been a little bit delirious when they said this, but there was people out there that really believed that Greece was a team that could beat the USA just because of the way they play the international game. And of course, their best players, Papaloukas, Schwarzenegger, all those guys, Vasilis Spanoulis, the great outside shooter. Those are guys that are well past their prime and no longer effective in the international game. So, as we're winding down into the end of the third quarter, we get a guy like Clyde Drexler out there. And Clyde Drexler is a guy that a lot of people don't remember. A lot of people just pass over. When you think of top shooting guards, you think Jerry West. You think Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade. A lot of people don't think Drexler. And he was an NBA champion, and he was an all-star all the time. And there was actually a time period before the Bulls played the Blazers in the finals. There was questions on whether he could be as good as Jordan. And of course, we all know what happened. Jordan decided he wasn't going to have any of it. Came out, knocked down all the three-pointers, hit the Jordan shrug, and Clyde Drexler pretty much became a footnote, which is unfortunate because he is a great player. He is one of the better shooting guards in the history of the game. And it's unfortunate that he's looked over, I think, personally. There's Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, the matchup between him and Melo, I think, would be really fun to watch. Charles Barkley, a little bit of a tweener. Obviously, he's short, but he's powerful, deceptively quick. Uses his weight to his advantage. Could shoot from the outside a little. Score inside, of course. Tons of moves. Athletic for a guy his size. And, of course, Melo. Melo, the prototypical international player. Strong, post-game inside. Can defend when he wants to. And, of course, like I said, these guys wanted this game, wanted to win this gold medal, and would definitely want to beat the Dream Team if they got matched up. Melo could score in the post, shoot from outside, handle the ball, pretty much do everything. And in this setting, he was even better, just because the kind of teams that we played, he could pretty much match up with any international power forward. Didn't have to worry too much, especially on defense. In a game where he wouldn't have to worry about defense too much. And then you get teams playing zone, and Carmelo's such a sweet shooter. And his performance against Nigeria was, you think about the perfect basketball game that a person could play, even if it was against a team like Nigeria. That's a game like that you see that like on Hoop Mixtape. Hoop Mixtape, Will Barton scores 72 points in Pro-Am game. That's where you see things like that. And he did it on one of the biggest stages, of course, and that being the Olympics. Not as big as the NBA playoffs, but right up there with it. You see young Anthony Davis. How about Anthony Davis? Of course, like I said, in this game, this version of Anthony Davis, rookie just out of college, would be largely ineffective in my opinion. So, as far as long-term potential, once he gains a lot of muscle, or at least some muscle, please. He's too skinny at this point. I saw him get posted up by Gasol, and it wasn't even close. So once he bulks up a little bit, I think he could be even a Kevin Garnett type player where he could score from the outside or the mid-range at least, defend very well, score in the post. Just bring that kind of leadership in the paint that the championship caliber team needs. At the minimum, I think he'll at least be a Marcus Camby type, where he's a great defender. And like I said, once he gains muscle, once he gains strength, it won't be a problem getting posted up. And like I said, this is where in the fourth quarter I let the game go. And once you see Leitner in the game, Leitner and Mullen, once they were in the game, you knew you lost. You knew, okay, Leitner's in the game, we're done. And of course, they're still defending. They're still blocking my shot, still getting the stupid call. Leitner probably flopped. Dirty old Duke player. And the full court pressure, pretty much ineffective. Stockton too good of a ball handler to really give it up. When Magic is in, too good of a ball handler, too secure with the ball for really full court pressure to be effective. I know I said that they would need to at least apply a pressure. That doesn't mean it needs to be it just needs to be a threat. It needs to make them work the whole 40 minutes. And of course I didn't apply that because it's a video game and it doesn't work like that in the video game. But in reality, if they're able to at least make those two guards work for 40 minutes and make someone else make a decision, make them throw a pass maybe they wouldn't throw a few times, get a few turnovers, get a few easy points, maybe speed the dream team up a little bit, that would be their best chance. And of course, they bring the starters back in. I don't know why. Probably just to continue embarrassing me. And still no rebounding. Another putback slam. Pretty much just becoming a dunk contest for them. A little bit of Harlem Globetrotter action at this point. Doing whatever they want. Another block. Really interior defense. Rebounds. Points in the paint. Fouls drawn. In real life, I believe LeBron would be fouled out at this point, but in an actual FIBA game. But anything that has to do with the paint in this matchup, they completely dominated, and I didn't have much of a chance. I'll say that. And Chris Paul just showing off the speed. He actually had a very good Olympics compared to what happened in Beijing, where teams would just lay off of him, and we actually played Jason Kidd just because if we're going to lay off a point guard, at least let's get someone out there that can set our players up. He actually had a very good Olympics. He was able to knock down shots, hit some pretty big shots, initiate the break, apply great pressure, played very well. Excellent. That's someone right there I haven't talked about, James Harden. James Harden on this team, probably solely because Dwayne Wade was injured. And, Harden, I don't believe he had that big of an impact, to be honest. I mean, he was obviously a great player, a great shooter, someone that's probably very well suited, and we may see again in this setting. And he'll probably be an all-star if he gets off the Thunder. I think right now he's a great six man of the year, obviously, and had hit some big shots in that Spurs series. So maybe not in this Olympics. He didn't have that big of an impact, but we'll look for him in Rio. He'll probably be there. Especially if Kobe and Wade probably won't be playing, so we'll need some new guys. Or guys to return and have a bigger role. Probably won't see Iggy there again. And here's Anthony. That's the potential I'm talking about. The shot blocking of Anthony Davis is something. He just has impeccable timing. It's for someone that played guard for so long. His timing on shot blocking is pretty much ridiculous. I mean, you watch a team like Florida. University of Florida, they would play Kentucky, and they couldn't shoot a jump shot, they couldn't shoot a layup, they couldn't do anything. If Anthony Davis was even in the vicinity of a player, they were either the shot was affected, the player got nervous and didn't shoot the ball, they shot a bad shot, or they got blocked. And it was ridiculous. This was every team Kentucky played against. I mean, he was he was the MVP of the national championship game, and he was barely able to score. And he was still the most important player. He's one of the. There are a few superstars that can, and another shot block by him. But there are a few superstars that can really impact a game without having to score at all, and don't care, and literally don't care if they score the ball. I mean, you see a guy like Andrew Bynum, he goes 3 possessions without getting the ball, and he's throwing a fit. That man's mad as hell if he doesn't get the ball. And that's why Anthony Davis was a perfect fit for New Orleans Hornets. Just trying to find someone to be the face of the franchise, someone that they can build around. Him and Austin Rivers, if they can figure out what to do with Austin Rivers, I don't know if that was the smartest pick, but if they can get Austin Rivers maybe to buy in at the point guard, probably bring him off the bench, I think, to be a spark plug. They already have Eric Gordon there. Al-Farouq Amino is a great defender. So if they can get, they got Ryan Anderson there as well. I mean, they've got a good core to start with. I really don't think they'll be a playoff team this year. Maybe an 8th seed, but they can continue building, continue making little tweaks to their roster, and develop their players, develop Anthony Davis. Be patient for a little bit, because it's not going to happen right away. It doesn't. So they may be good in a few years, kind of like the Thunder when they collected all that talent: Westbrook, Durant, Ibaka, Harden. Those are all homegrown players. Perkins is the only player in the starting lineup they didn't. Well, Perkins and Cephalosha in the starting lineup, but out of the main core players, because they even drafted Collison. These are all players they drafted. So, if the Hornets can do something even similar to that, then of course they're going to be in good shape. And of course they got to be drawing a lot of excitement, a lot of jersey sales with the addition of Anthony Davis and Austin Rivers. And see, at this point, I'm just chucking up shots. I'm down too many points to even care about trying to make a comeback. And really, this just makes me look even worse. Really, the outcome of this game isn't as wide. I don't think the score does justice to how close I played this game. I don't think that's fair, because I think I let the game go a little bit when I tried applying full court pressure. So you see that you say, "Oh, you got violated in this game," or "You got destroyed." Not as much. I think in a real matchup in between these two teams, that the inside game would be too much. And I think the Dream Team will probably pull out 15-point win, keep the score down, slow it down, frustrate USA 2012 team. So yeah, I think a 15-point win is fair. Anyways, this has been Lights Out here. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. And keep tuning in for more videos.